The Sopranos is perhaps the greatest television show ever made. Following the New Jersey mafia boss Tony Soprano, the mafia drama was very conscious in its casting of its actors. Show creator David Chase was keen to cast actors who had an authentic Italian-American Jersey feel. As such, he even, for example, rejected Michael Madsen for a role in the show, an actor who heavily campaigned for a part, and Chase claims he turned him down due to his Chicago accent. There were other reasons for turning down notable actors. Frank Vincent, for example, originally auditioned for the role of Uncle Junior, but he was turned down because the show had already had too many actors from Martin Scorsese's Goodfellas, and he of course had a notable role in that film. Only after the show had established its own identity did Vincent join the cast in season 5. Anyway, what with average nobodies being cast as background actors and supporting characters based on their looks and mannerisms, and given this is a gangster show, it isn't crazy to suggest that many of the actors in the show may have had dark pasts of their own. In fact, casting an actual criminal seems something of a mob movie tradition by this point, starting with Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather. There's a whole story there, involving actual mob boss Joe Colombo trying to shut down production, before putting his weight behind it and sending goons to help with the filmmaking, some of whom were cast in the film, most notably Colombo crime family bodyguard Lenny Montana, who plays Louis Brassi in the film. Martin Scorsese took this to another level, often casting former criminals or individuals with shady backgrounds in his films to increase the sense of authenticity. Mafia hitman Frank Colota comes to mind, who played, would you believe it, a mafia hitman in Casino, and who was the inspiration for the character played by Frank Vincent. The Wolf of Wall Street covers the life of criminal Jordan Belfort, and the real-life Belfort is cast in the film. In today's video, I wanted to take a look at Sopranos actors who have been involved in crime. Mainly mob-related stuff, but would also touch on smaller things too. Not every actor was a regular flag-saluting motherfucker, as we'll learn. Now, of course, many people know that Tony Sirico, who played Paulie Walnuts in The Sopranos, had a history in the mob. I find Sirico really fascinating as an actor. Many other people in the life, when casted in mafia roles in films and TV shows, are often glorified extras or background characters. Sirico, however, is one of the main actors in the show and holds his own with veterans in the industry. He has numerous storylines dedicated to him and shows incredible range for a man not professionally trained as an actor. He can be comedic, intimidating, scummy, empathetic. He really is a great actor. That being said, other Sopranos actors have noted that Sirico was essentially playing himself, or a toned-down version of himself. Many aspects of the character, like his germophobia, were modelled from his real-life characteristics, including the way Paulie always keeps his hands in front of him in the show, which Sirico learned from his time in prison, needing to constantly be vigilant and ready for a scrap. During the 1960s and 70s, Sirico worked for the Colombo crime family under Carmine Persico. He was arrested 28 times for a variety of crimes. One term he served was a 13-month sentence for robbing a club, and another where he served 20 months for a weapons possession charge. Funnily enough, it was during this incarceration that Sirico came across an acting group and his passion for acting began. This would lead to a small role in Goodfellas and eventually his part in The Sopranos. There is a reference to Sirico's past in the show when Paulie says, "I lived by the skin of my nuts when the Colombos were going at it in the 70s. Sirico was a murder suspect in the case of 30-year-old B-movie actress Krista Helm. He knew her, and allegedly the day after her murder, he was dispatched by someone to recover things from her apartment, perhaps incriminating evidence. Sirico was never charged, but was thought to be at the very least a witness to the killing, if not an accomplice or even the murderer himself. When questioned by detectives, Sirico claimed he hardly knew Helm and wasn't aware that she had been killed. In an interview, Sirico has talked about his violent and unstable past. He recalls one incident where he left his wife and children for a woman he was madly in love with, and when he saw a sailor talking to said girlfriend, he beat him and threw him off a dock and into a bay where the sailor hit a boat on the way down. Sirico quickly fled in a taxi, and he doesn't know what happened to the man. Sirico is alleged to have been an enforcer in his younger days, being a robber and a driver for other gangsters. When the books were opened up in the mid-70s, for the first time since the 50s, Sirico is thought to have actually turned down getting his button, choosing to remain an unmade guy. Whether this was because the pros of getting made didn't outweigh the cons, or by this point he had already caught the acting bug, who knows? He was born, grew up, spent a few years in the army, a few more years in Cannes, and here he is, half a wise guy. The Sopranos actor with the highest profile and closest connection to the mob, while the show was still filming, was Tony Borghese, also known by his stage name, Tony Darrow. Darrow played Larry Boy Barisi, who ran the biggest crew in the DeMeo family, but only popping up in the show sparingly. Darrow, believe it or not, was an active Gambino crime family associate during the filming of the show, in his 70s and extorting victims under Gambino soldier Joseph Orlando. Borghese's father was in and out of prison, and during his youth, Darrow became friends with John Gotti and Paul Vario, which is very interesting as of course Darrow would star in Goodfellas and interact with the character Paul Cicero, who was based on Paul Vario. It was Vario who got Darrow booked into the Bamboo Lounge as a singer, the same lounge Darrow's character owns in Goodfellas. In 2011, 4 years after The Sopranos was finished, Borghese was arrested for hiring members of the Gambino family to beat a man who owed him a debt, a small glimpse into the life of the man behind Larry Barisi. Originally, he was set for a prison sentence, but in an instant of life imitating art, he ended up getting 6 years of house arrest, something that pretty much happened to his character in the show. Whether it's a sincere apology or a part of his plea bargain after calling the lawyer, who knows, but Darrow has expressed regret, saying, "I'm very sorry for what I did. The only way I can change is by trying to help other people." And he made a public service announcement designed to help young people stay away from crime. According to Darrow, he mentioned the outstanding debt to a wise guy he played golf with, asking him for a favor, and the victim ended up having his jaw broken. What can we say about this guy? The ancient Romans had a word for him: asshole. Borghese said that the PSA was made after he spoke to his teenage son, the kid saying, "The guy owed you money, you tried to collect it, you didn't do anything." Darrow recounted, "It made me feel worse. It was not the message I wanted to give to him." Sticking with the Barisis, the other one, Albert, actually got pinched during the filming of the show. Can you imagine that? Getting a gig on the biggest show on the planet and the next week you're in jail? It's why the actor is hardly in the show and doesn't appear towards the later seasons in spite of being a captain. Richard Maldone, the actor who played him, was charged for drug trafficking during the run of the show. Apparently his own lawyers told him to quit The Sopranos because potential jurors would make a link with him playing a gangster and they would see him as a real gangster. He can't go into the unknown not knowing. There's an actor in the show who appears briefly, Michael Squicchiarini. If I remember correctly, he's only in one scene, in the Bing when Richie is out of the can and he comes over to give Rich money and he does a bit of verbal sparring with Paulie. The character's name is Frank Cipollina, and the actor has been in and out of prison several times, including a 5-year stretch for aggravated assault. Interestingly, he was affiliated with the Di Cavalcante family, who were one of the primary inspirations for the show in the first place. Squicchiarini died in 2001, but a year later he was implicated in the murder of a drug dealer, Ralph Hernandez, being accused of luring the man to a club so that he could be shot and killed by mob capo Joseph Conigliaro, and then helping disposing of the body. Whilst not thought to be a mobster, it's worth mentioning that Frank Anthony Vallelonga Jr., also known as Tony Lip, aka Carmine Lupertazzi Sr., spent a considerable amount of time as a bouncer at the famous Copacabana Club in New York. In the 60s, he was also a bodyguard and driver for the pianist Don Shirley when Shirley toured the Deep South, events which were depicted in the Best Picture winning film Green Book, which was co-written by Lip's son, and where Lip was portrayed by Viggo Mortensen. Tony Lip also has the prestigious honour of being in The Godfather, in Goodfellas, and in The Sopranos. In The Godfather, you can see him behind Don Barzini during the opening wedding, and in Goodfellas, he appears when Henry is telling us about the Bamboo Lounge mafioso. Remember Muscles Marina, Tony's driver in season 6, who seemingly disappeared and was replaced by Dante Greco? Well, it might have something to do with the fact that the actor Louis Gross was charged in 2006 with criminal mischief after breaking into a woman's home and stealing more than $1,000 of cash. This was while The Sopranos was still airing, but it's not clear whether this has anything to do with him not appearing for more than 2 episodes. He's been done for a few things here and there. Around 10 years ago, he tried to pay for a burger with counterfeit bills and was busted by cops, and he also pleaded guilty to charges of criminal possession of a forged instrument. One of the most serious offences a Sopranos actor has been involved in involves Matt Drinkwater actor Lila Brocanto Jr., who robbed a house along with his girlfriend's father. An off-duty police officer confronted the intruders, and he was shot and killed by Brocanto's partner in crime. Brancato had been charged earlier that year for heroin possession, and whilst his girlfriend's dad got life with no parole, Brancato got 10 years, being released on parole after 4. It seems like a real Matt and Sean kind of screw-up, and when you consider Brancato Jr. was an up-and-coming actor who got his break in the gangster film A Bronx Tale and was in The Sopranos, it actually makes you think of a quote from Brancato's mentor in A Bronx Tale, played by Chaz Palminteri: "The saddest thing in life is wasted talent." Brancato's story seems to be that of a man who became famous overnight, couldn't handle it, and his life spiraled down a path of addiction and crime. Apparently he has turned his life around, tries to help addicts, and has tried to restart his career after leaving prison, but he hasn't had any notable roles. Interestingly, Chaz Palminteri, who partly gave Brancato his big break, being the writer of A Bronx Tale, has publicly and bluntly distanced himself from Brancato, saying he has no interest in helping him restart his career. Actor Joseph Ganascoli, who played Vito Spatafori on the show, says he turned down a film role because he didn't want to be in a film with Brancato. "I'm not here to judge. People have to live with themselves," he said. "I know he was a model prisoner, and in prison he changed his life around. He's helping kids make the right decisions, which is great, but we all know what happened, and I just felt I couldn't do it." Speaking of Ganascoli, he's also been done for driving under the influence. The blood pressure medication, it fucks with his head. Robert Eiler, who played AJ, was arrested during the run of the show at the age of 16, along with his friends, for mugging tourists and for the possession of marijuana. That's dicked up. HBO refused to comment on the situation at the time, and Eiler was given 3 years probation. Eiler was also at an underground club during a police raid, but it doesn't seem anything from that involving him has been made public. It looks like Eiler was set to go down a path of drugs and Sopranos-esque self-destruction, but for a former child actor, he seems to have done well for himself, being sober since 2013 and now hosting a pretty chill podcast with his Sopranos co-actress Jamie Lynn Sigler, who played Meadow. There are a few other actors on the show who have lower level crimes associated with them. Vincent Pastore, for example, allegedly has relatives who are made guys, and the quote-unquote Husky accomplice himself was given 70 hours of community service after pleading guilty to an attempted assault of his girlfriend. John Ventimiglia, who played Artie Bucco, has also been done for driving under the influence and drug possession. When officers stopped his car after noticing him weaving in and out of traffic, he allegedly had bloodshot eyes, slurred speech, and smelt of alcohol. His divorce case also revealed drug-induced domestic violence. It's interesting that a lot of these crimes seem quite similar in character for the actors. Mugging a tourist with his mates seems like the kind of thing AJ might do. Vito was speeding on his way back to Jersey. Big Puss attacked his wife in the show. Muscles Marino was emotional and lacked impulse control. Matt Drinkwater did stupid crimes and robberies with his partner in crime. And Artie being cuffed by the cops while he mumbles a slurred defense with bloodshot eyes seems like a scene that we were robbed of in the show. All in all though, I know we've covered at least 2 murders. It's not actually bad, I have to say, when you consider how closely affiliated some of the cast were with the mob and with crime. The Sopranos in general lacked major scandals and issues that one might expect could rock the show's production. So what do you make of these actors' affiliation with crime? Are you aware of any I've missed? Let me know in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel and thanks for watching.